also helps to fight those lawsuits.
So not just the comments in the code, but other types of documentation.
Yes, other types of documentation. So yeah, other types of documentation, it's important. Like, I'm guessing by the type of documentations you mean comments in the code?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually tricky. So yes, you should have comments in the code, but there are a lot of automatic tools like Yardocs and stuff. When you have Yardoc is for Ruby, there are other kind of documentation tools. So if you write comments, they actually create a wiki page out of it. You should always try to use those kind of tools. If you're working on an industry level product, then you should try to use those kind of tools so that when you have invested time in writing the comments, you don't have to again go and write the wikis or all those usage or how to use kind of documentation, because that's not a good use of your time. So
yeah, the thing is, if your code becomes documentation, usually you will first, when you change a function or a method or something like this, you will change a comment within the code, and then you forget about the documentation. And actually, industry leaders such as Google, they have no documentation. The code should be self-explanatory, or if not, then you should comment within the code.
yeah,
I would say that in system administration, or when you have big infrastructure, for the sysadmin, sometimes there is no code, like configuration file and like system are like linked together, so it's hard to comment. Like you can't really comment the code because there is no code. So in this way, you need to like create schema and explain how the system is behaving. But for code, yeah, I would agree with Neha.
Yeah.
And Yardoc is a very good example that you guys will cover with Ruby, where you basically follow a type of schema to comment your code, and then you just use one function and it creates a beautiful web page. You can search within it, you have links.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's really interesting, and there are these kind of documentation tools for everything. I have experience with one tool in C. I'm forgetting the name right now, but that was also interesting. And in LinkedIn, for example, we have like several teams working on several different services, and all the services they talk in. They have like agreement that okay, I'll send you this, and you will send me XYZ information about this particular resource, and that's important because if that is not documented, then if I'm using a service A, then I'll have to go and check in that code. I'll have to check out that repository and check in that code. Okay, what are they going to send me? So what happens in like in LinkedIn, we have this automatic tool. It generates beautiful RESTly schemas, and it just generates the entire model.
I think you lost them with RESTly schema.
Yeah.
So maybe you can explain what is this? Like microservice
okay.
and everything API. Like very quickly.
Very quickly.
Oh, you want to help
That's a lot. That's a lot of information. Okay. Let me try to condense it.
Like why does LinkedIn broke their code base into multiple parts?
Multiple services. Yeah, that's what I was. Okay. That's a lot of information. Bear with me, guys. So what happened? Okay, so LinkedIn used to be like this one giant, massive repo, and there were like thousands of developers committing onto that repo in this one trunk, and one commit used to take half an hour, because by the time the merge conflicts and everything was resolved, so like basically they had these
This is a nightmare.
yeah, exactly. So this is something that I'm talking about like 8 years back, okay? And they used to have these like meetings on these with these documents where they used to decide, okay, on January 14th I'll release this commit, and it may cause these merge conflicts, and that used to be like you can imagine what a nightmarish experience it was. So then they decided that yes, this is not going to scale, and then they basically like there is like a bunch of engineers who are now called tools team. They worked on tools that will increase developer happiness and developer productivity. And then they created this services infrastructure. So now we don't have a lot of code in that giant trunk anymore. It's like just a bunch of things which are still in the process of being cleaned up. But all the rest of the teams, they broke into their own repositories, and now they have this something like GitHub, which is like an internal tool where all the repositories are hosted, and they've developed all these tools with the Gradle integration and everything. And then they came up with all these. So now these different services needed an agreement that, okay, when I'm asking you about the profile information, then you need to give me the first name, last name, company, and URL, and the resume, and whatnot, right? So all this information now becomes a part of what's called Pegasus schema. So that schema is basically an agreement between two services that I'll give you this when you ask me for the profile information. And all of this is, by the way, like on open sourced. So all of RESTly is open sourced. That's a LinkedIn only REST specification. I guess you guys are aware of REST.
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. You can find it out. It's simple. It's basically APIs. So REST is like when you say that when you say that give me information about an employee called employee 123, then I'll give you these things. So it returns mostly it returns JSON payload, and that's what you use in your service. So you can rest assured, you can always be sure that this will return a profile schema, or it will give you an error, HTTP error code, whenever there's a problem. So all of this is being written in LinkedIn with the Pegasus schemas generally, and this is the agreement between two services. So now, whenever we come up with a service, we come up with a Pegasus schema first, and that is reviewed by everybody. So you don't make backwards incompatible change to those schemas, and you are always like ensuring. And whenever you are making backwards incompatible change, you make sure that, okay, whoever are subscribing to my service, they make changes to their code. So that's how, like, so the development speed and everything has definitely improved a lot from.
But do you have like the version? Do you handle version?
Yes. So services are like versioned objects, because when I release, say I'm the owner of a profile service, so I'll release a profile version 2.0, and I'll say that, okay, this is what you'll get in 2.0, and then when you want to, and then I'll keep developing on the profile service, and maybe I'll include school information, like university information in there. And then if you want to use it, then you create your service to start using 3, say.
And this is in the URL, or?
This is so what?
The like parameters and how it's working.
Yeah, so what happens is that when I'm developing my service, I create a product spec, and I say that, okay, I will use profile service version 2. And then wherever, so all the jars, like all these service jars, they're deployed to one central location, and I'm always getting them from that artifactory. So I specify the version, and that is how it knows that it'll pick up this version. And if I'm changing the version, say as a profile team, I don't want to support version 2 anymore, right? So then I'll let everybody who's on version 2, because now I can find out who's using version 2, because I have product spec of everyone. So I can just find out, okay, these are the teams. I'll just send them out an email to the managers of those teams that, okay, we are going to deprecate version 2 of the profile, say starting next quarter. So please fix forward. So it'll ensure that everybody who moves on to the latest supported version. That is very similar to how all the developments in the open source community also work. With Ruby, that's the case. With Rails, that's the case. So they always keep they always keep developing, and they release the master branch, which is like the beta version. And if you want to be on the cutting edge, then you're welcome to use it. But there is like a long-term support version, which is supported for a very long time, and then they continuously keep deprecating something, and they'll only release critical fixes. For example, like Ruby 187 has been deprecated, and they're not even releasing any more security fixes to it. So that's how it happens. Yeah. So update. Yeah.
That was a lot of information.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to like just throw all the RESTly and Pegasus on you. That's a lot of information to like. But all of this stuff is open source, so you can find all of that on GitHub.
So we'll make, you'll see like when you get to the industry, it's a lot about you consume data, but you also, you can be the producer or the consumer. You can give people, like your algorithm can give away data and also consume data. And more, what the industry does is that it breaks up services into multiple applications. And what's cool about this is because it's using REST, which is like, you use URL basically to query resources information. It's not linked to the language that you are using. So basically you can do web requests in Python, in Ruby, in Go, in whatever language you want. So like a Python software can talk to a Ruby software or to a Java software. So it makes the architecture very flexible
and language independent.
Which
is very important, because once you start getting comfortable in language, it's really difficult to like switch gears and move into a different language. It's very difficult, but never tie yourself to a language. Always be open for changes, because as a programmer, all you care about is how does 2 plus 2 work, right? Like, you don't care about how you actually write it. You can write it in a postfix notation saying 2, 2 and plus, or a prefix notation saying plus 2, 2, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing, right? So you should never tie yourself up to a language, and you should be open to. And that is one thing which will be learned here, because you're starting with C, you'll have Python, you'll have Ruby, so you'll have a lot of exposure, which is good.
Yeah, that's already looked at like 4 languages.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow. It's not even 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know. What?
It's not learned, it's we started.
Oh, yeah. Looked at.
Yeah. That's good. What are the 4?
No. We're experts.
What are the 4 languages?
We did Python, Bash, C, and HTML and CSS.
Okay.
A little assembly if you wanted to.
Yeah, HTML, CSS, you're always going to use them. Like, they are some things that have established themselves in a field, and you cannot really make do with any other thing. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, they are like things that are going to always stay there, and it's good that you know them. Things that you can replace and reuse are mainly C, Python, Java, Ruby. They can like you can replace one or the other with something, or Bash is like ABCD of programming. You need to know.
See?
Like, if you don't know Bash, then come on, you're not a programmer.
Word.
Word.
Right? If you don't master your system, you can do anything.
You can't do anything. If you don't know Bash, then you would probably be like dragging, dropping if you want to move. That's crappy, right? You need to know everything and see. Come on.
Quote of the day.
Next time I drag and drop something, I like, I'm such a crappy person. Dragging this.
If you don't know Bash, you can just drag and drop. Yeah, it's a pretty good quote.
Really.
Yeah, that was when we were hiring engineer for SlideShare. That was no matter what position, technical obviously position you were applying for, we would do a Bash interview, because as Neha said, it's the base.
Yeah, it's the base. Like, if you don't know that, then it's going to be difficult.
You are trying to recruit for your own specialty. Like you're competing, like low end, high end.
Well, yes and no. I mean, Neha is backend, I was operation. But still, we agree on the fact that, like, being able to manage.
Like, even front-end engineers, they need to know Bash.
Yeah.
Unless you're a product person, you don't need to use UI.
I was kidding. I meant you, Sylvain. Really, the engineer.
Oh,
because you're always competing.
They always kind of push their angle. You guys need to be better at Twitter. Learn Bash.
See, if you know Bash, then you can post to Twitter using Bash.
Oh, challenge.
You can do that. Really? Why not? Okay. Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah. Just try it out and let me know. The next tweet you post
That might be hard.
Really?
Can we automate it so it sends a tweet?
Exactly. You can. Like, you can just write a SH tweet.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
So there was this person that So he basically wrote a script because he needed to find out. So we used to chat on IRC, and then he wrote a script in order to find out that if I'm online. So he just wrote a /ping thing and just used to send a ping to me every 3 hours just to see if I'm online. So yeah, you can basically do anything. So you can just write a script which every day in the morning sends out a tweet saying that it's day 3 of week 4 or something like that.
Yeah. And actually, so we asked this guy to do a captain's log, which is the equivalent of end of EOD. That's what we are doing at SlideShare. So when we had like SlideShare in India and the US, we needed to basically communicate on what we worked during the day so that our coworker would not do the same thing, or if something is broken, they would kind of know what happened. And it's also a good way for you to kind of, summarize what I've achieved, where I'm blocked.
Yeah.
And what I personally did is that you will use this later, but we use like a task tracker. It's called Pivotal Tracker, and there is an API on it. And you could basically list the list of tasks that were done, that you deliver or were finished. And this way it was, for me, a good way of automating that because everything I was working on was in my checklist.
Yeah.
So there are many ways.
We had the script that used to send out an automated email to the end of day mailing list. I just used to sync from, because there are like multiple places. So you're updating in Pivotal Tracker your status, and then the story of the status that you're working on. And then you're also sending an EOD, and then you're also telling in the Scrum that, okay, I'll be working on this. So that's like 3 places. Why would you waste time? Right? The time is valuable, so you just write a script to automate that part.
Yeah. There are many things, like you should, as developer, depend on your position, but I think in programming, you don't want to do the same method twice, right?
Yes.
That's why there are methods.
Yes.
So you don't want to write the same piece of code twice. When you are on operation, you don't want to do the same operation twice. So you don't want to reboot the server twice, you don't want to run this command, so you write a cron tab. So you should basically, every time, you should be lazy. A very good developer is someone who is lazy and automate what can be automated so that you can focus on something else. It's not lazy in the sense you don't want to work. If you are super good, maybe you can automate yourself, but I'd like to see this. But yeah, try to...
You can write a conscience.sh or something.
Yeah. For example,
Learn.
I don't know, a suggestion. I see some of you, you like, when you give back your work, you mistype the name of the file, or it's not executed. Maybe you could automate this. That's one suggestion.
True.
Like automate the file creation so that you don't have to do it, and for sure you have no typo.
Can you automate that from the instructions? Find a way to copy.
I don't know.
That's what you say?
Yeah, maybe. Try when you do a mistake, and because we are human, we make mistake, and maybe computer can do bit better than you, like try to find a way to make the computer do it for you.
Yeah, wherever you can use whenever you find yourself repeating the commands that you've done, then you should definitely consider writing a script for it.
It's really good that you say that we have to be lazy. Because I used to be like that, always try to find shortcuts to things, and then I felt kind of guilty because I felt that everybody was following the whole process, and I just found the shortcut,
I'll tell you something from my experience. I was at this previous company where I was writing C, and then every other week it used to happen that they were changing the name of that method, and I was like, no way, I'm not going and changing like 5 different files with the same method name. So we were doing C, but I wrote a Python script that you just need to provide the 2 method names, and it would just find and replace everything. So that's what you need to do, right? Like, come on, you're not going to provide me an IDE, then I'll find out ways to automate that stuff. I'm not going to do it every time, right? And then like once it was okay. That time I had only 3 files, so I did it manually. And then second time it came, I was like, no way. And then we actually ended up changing it 4 times after that. So yeah, it did pay off, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no problem. I actually enjoyed it. I was talking to her, I was like, what am I going to talk to these people? Share.
Neha, did anyone tell you? She's the first woman mentor who has come, right?
No, I think someone from Salesforce came.
We didn't get to
to chat with her.
Yeah, we were talking about that today with some male.
So it's like really exciting to see.
Yeah.
I think that's why maybe it would be cool if like sometime we did like a lunch with different women mentors and maybe like
Yeah.
For sure.
Girls and guys, I mean, let's not be too.
Yeah.
because I think
We don't want to
It's actually so this is something that I'd like to share. So because you brought it up, so I've had experience working with male engineering managers for all of my time, and this is all of my time at LinkedIn. And for the past 2 quarters, I'm having a female engineering manager. And I'm not saying that my male engineering managers were bad or anything like that. Like they were really good, and I enjoyed working with them, and everything was great. Until I found this engineering manager who's female, and I can actually talk my heart out to her, and that's very liberating. And I don't feel bad when I'm actually ranting to her, because she understands, and she has improved me in ways that I'm sure male engineering managers would not have been able to improve me, because they were not seeing that. Like I used to get emotional when my ideas were shot down, when I'm telling something and nobody is taking it seriously. I always used to think that I'm not that good, or I'm not capable of leading a team or anything like that. But she actually improved me in terms that at times when I get emotional, then I stop listening to what is being said. And these are things that she noticed, because she was sitting there with me, and then she could see herself, and she could like basically relate to me, right? And that emotional feeling, I'm not saying that guys are not emotional, don't think that, but it really is like that. We as females, we tend to be like really attached to the projects that we are working on, and in those times when we feel those attachments, we can be unreasonable. And if somebody like Silva points that out to me, that you're being unreasonable, then I'll not like it. But when my manager points that out to me, she does it in a way that I actually listen to what she's saying. So it's important at times, and everyone is different. So it's like it's actually interesting, because when somebody motivates us and when we can see role models in front of us, then we get more motivated, and we're like, okay, yes, we can do it. And there are women like Grace Hopper, Betty Holberton, who did not have any role models in front of them, but they still went this far, and we can look up to them. But not all of us are that kind, right? Like she's amazing, because she was not stopped by any of the obstacles that came in her way. You guys have really a cool person here. I don't know other stories.
You actually uplifted me after you come here.
So
thank you.
I was also impressed when I knew who my roommates were going to be. Fellow students. Yeah, okay. And Dora. And I have to say, when I learned about the students and I saw Shavanti's, I also thought, oh, I cannot, compete with her. Not that we are competing, but I really thought, what can I teach her?
That's the other thing. You guys are not competing. You guys are actually sharing this cool connection where all of you people, like if you end up in the same company, or if you end up starting your own company or anything like that, you guys are going to share this bond, which you'll not probably share with your co-workers or colleagues. Like we share this bond because we have been there from the SlideShare startup days. We've seen each other in like those times when SlideShare was down or things like that, and we can relate to it. But that doesn't happen in like big companies, because they're 9 to 5, and mostly people don't care about what they're doing, and I don't relate to those kind of people. So that's what happens. So you guys will look each other through all these times, and you will like share this friendship, which will uplift you for like the rest of your life, and it's going to be life changing.
Yeah, I think the fact that you guys, like every single one of you, like were accepted here because you did our job and you show your passion and your motivation. Yeah. You are part of this same kind of motivated people.
Yes. All of you are like a bunch of passionate people who deeply care about what your hobbies are, and you're looking forward to making them into a profession. And all of you are like really lucky because you'll get to work on something, you'll get paid for something that you love to do.
Yeah.
Where does that happen?
I think we're unlucky because we don't get paid and we're still doing it.
and like schools where you have to pay for that, you don't have
Right,
to
yeah.
here, right? So that's and believe me, like this is a school where you'll get to learn so much which you'll not get to learn even if you pay like $42,000 for UCB, UCSB, or anything like that. You'll not get that kind of exposure or that kind of learning opportunity, and you'll not get a team of like committed 30 engineers, 30 people who are like so passionate. So yeah.
And we won't get this.
Yeah. I don't know how much it helped, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we should definitely do a lunch. I'd be up for it.
Yeah.
Boys invited.
Yes,
Yes.
you are.
So just my dad, he teaches app development at the high school level, and he helps with a Girls Who Code club at his school, and it's become huge. And they did a tour of different dev shops down in Chicago, and they had a boy who joined the Girls Who Code club because he was coding and he wanted to know, because he knows that it's a very different world from women joining the tech industry, and he wanted to know firsthand like that conversation and that struggle. So he chose to join, like it was like 80 girls, like who meet every week and code and do stuff.
That's impressive.
Because he wanted to be part of that conversation. So yes, it is important that girls in technology communicate, but it's important that we actually are
It's
engaging
inclusive,
in everyone.
yes, and it's very important that it's inclusive. So I was at Grace Hopper last year, and I had this conversation with, I think she's the product lead or something in Amazon, and she's been in industry for like 27 years. And I was talking to her, and that is when this occurred to me because all these women in computing things, they are like all about women, and trust me, not all women are as underprivileged as a lot of men. So like there can be like definitely men who are underprivileged and who don't get enough opportunities. Like when I was there, then I was thinking that maybe I'm not getting a lot out of Grace Hopper as somebody who's back in India and who's not even exposed to computers would have gotten by being in this spot instead of me. So that's the kind of opportunity that we need to create. Like we need to be an inclusive community where everybody of every different color, race, gender gets an equal representation, and that's a community that we need to build.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we've said it, but I say it again. Like, we didn't do any selection based on gender, or, like race or social background or anything.
We know that. We see
Yeah.
that.
No, but we could because our group is so diverse and we are so happy, and I know you guys are happy about this. But what's even better is like you are here because you deserve it.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
And I think what made the difference is that the communication, and when we designed the website, we were very careful about not excluding anyone with like geeky and nerdy things.
Yeah, that's one thing that he pointed out last time when I came here, because there can be like a lot of things. Like you can just have an R2D2 here, and then you'll piss off all the non-Star Wars fans, right? So they've chosen everything in a way that creates an inclusive and a diverse environment. And yeah, kudos to Holberton on that.
Yeah, but I think we need to be careful with enforcing. Like diversity is great and we are all for it, but I think it's dangerous to like force it, because then the people who will get into maybe don't deserve to, maybe it's not their spot, maybe not everybody is
That's
designed
also
to do
true.
computer science, and they are in because they are from this
Yeah.
country or this whatever gender, and then they don't succeed, and then people are like pointing them, oh, you got in because you are, and then they have a bad career, and then it doesn't really change the problem. So yes, we should be an inclusive. Actually, I think that doing
have all these conversations because it creates
awareness.
but it doesn't mean that we need to encourage such kind of events which there can be an event which say all the companies host where everybody gets a say and everybody who's underprivileged but equally smart gets a spot, so then they'll be exposed to a lot of diverse views and a lot of great opportunities.
So we are not even about smart, we are about passion.
Yes.
I think
So
that's what
there should be like a good balance of all the things that are required for you to be successful, right? Like you want to put your bet on the horse that will win. I would say, yeah. But yeah, let me know. I'll be up for the lunch. Okay.
Thank you,
It's great
Neha.
to talk to all of you guys. Come on, guys. You're like.